Welcome to the New Spanish Academy, and I'm very happy to have you here as we are starting our first module of the main course. Now, this is a very important module, and we're going to talk about the alphabet and the basics of the Spanish pronunciation. And it's very important because a lot of people jump the basics, and I know a lot of people who are fluent in Spanish, but they do very basic mistakes that make them sound terribly. All right, and you don't want to do that. So there's going to be a lot of psychology, and many of the things that I mentioned in the beginning are going to be mentioned later. But right now what we do is we're setting a seed of ideas for you so that when it really matters and I remind it to you, it's not going to distract you from what we're learning in the process. So many of the things we're learning, we're going to repeat, and it's very important for you to please pay attention. As you can see, this is a long video, even though we're just talking about the basics, which is the pronunciation. Now we are in the beginner's level, module 1. And let's look at the alphabet. Now what's good about Spanish is that the alphabet is pretty much the same as in English, but don't let that fool you. You don't want to make mistakes. All right. One of the main mistakes, for example, that English natives make when they speak Spanish is that, for example, they pronounce the O as the English O and say O, caro, bueno. It's not O, it's O. All right. O. Or for example, the L. A lot of English natives say lo, 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 like hello. It's like a thick L that Russian has, or Catalan has, or other languages have. Spanish always has a soft L. So you don't want to say hola, hola. Sounds Russian, sounds like hello. You want to say hola, la, 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 soft L. So that's just a little point for you to have an idea of why we should not make mistakes like this. And we're going to start by looking at the vowels, all right? Now the Spanish vowels are A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. And you do not want to say A, E, I, O, U. So as I go through the course, I'm going to say A, E, I, O, U when I spell the words in Spanish. All right? So usually the biggest mistake is when I'm, for example, spelling something and I say I, and you think I mean this one here. But I actually mean this one. I. All right, so in Spanish, when I say I, is this one, I. Not this one, but this one, I. All right, A, E, I, O, U. And that's very, very important, all right? Now let's look at the whole alphabet. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the alphabet straight ahead from A to Z. And you're going to listen to how it sounds and see if you find some patterns. After that, I'm going to go through it and I'm going to tell you the patterns, and I'm going to give you special secrets that nobody knows. Nobody knows about these amazing secrets. So these are not just secrets, but tricks that are gonna make your native Spanish speaking friends wonder what it is that you're making so good, and they will not be able to put their finger on it because it's things that people don't notice. All right, so let's go through the alphabet as a whole right now. I'm gonna highlight what I'm looking at. So remember that. I'm highlighting now the alphabet. Let's go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, L, Ella, or you can also say double L, which is double L, M, N, Ñ, Ñ. So Ñ is the only letter that differentiates from English because there's not such a sound. Ñ, 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 Ñ. O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, or we can also say Y. All right, so the Spanish Y we call it the Greek Y, or we call it Y. Alright? So in Spanish, Greek is griega. Griega is like female Greek. So Y, griega. Y, griega. The Y, the Greek Y, Y, griega. And we call it also E. So N, zeta. Now you notice one thing that I said at the end, and it's that the letter Y is E, but it also means and. So when you want to say me and you, it's me, E, you. Me, you. Alright, so what I did right now is I used English, me, you, and I used Spanish. So instead of saying and, I said E, me, E, you, me and you. Now that's called Spanish. You're mixing Spanish with English. And this is a simple thing that might not bring a lot of attention, but it's actually a good technique for you to improve Spanish. So what you want to do is you want to start speaking Spanglish. Basically, when you learn a new Spanish word, put it in the sentence and use it instead of the English word. So for example, car in Spanish is carro. So instead of saying, I'm gonna pick up my car, you wanna use the Spanish word and say, I'm gonna pick up my carro. Right? Now you're using Spanish, Spanglish. Alright? So start doing that. Now Y in Spanish is Y or Y, but it means and. And now that we learn how to say and, let's learn how to say or. Yes or no. Or is O. Alright? So if I ask you yes or no, how do we say that? We say sí o no. Sí o no. Sí o no. Yes or no. Sí o no. Okay? Sí o no. Yes or no. If I want to say this and that, we say esto y. Alright, so I'm going to highlight y. Sorry. Y. Eso. Esto y eso. That means this and that. Sí o no, yes or no. Esto y eso, this and that. Alright, so we're slowly but surely learning new words, so please don't skip ahead, because this is going to help you later. Now, if you don't remember what esto y eso is, don't worry about it, we're going to go through it later. But when we go through it later, you're going to remember it better because we just went through it now. So that's one of the techniques that I use. We go through repetition. I tell you something once, and then we don't pay a lot of attention to it, but later we come back to it again. And we're going to do like that with everything that we're learning, all right? But even though we're doing this, I want you to make sure that you are taking notes. So start writing down. This is your homework, basically. Your homework is start writing down. You can stop the video and write down the new words. Like in the back side of the book, you can write, for example, vocabulary, and you can make one page with verbs, and another page with nouns, and so on. And then on the other side of the book, basically you write more or less what I'm going through, like the grammar, everything mixed. Alright? So you can have the list of verbs and words as a reference on the other side of the book, so you find everything. So it's good that you use your hand for that. Okay. Now, these are the consonants, and this is important because we just went through it a second ago, and we're just going to look at the consonants. So if you don't know what consonants are, the vowels are A, E, I, O, U. Now the consonants are the other letters that are not the vowels, of course. Now in Spanish, listen to patterns. So what we know as B, C, D, they finish with E, B, C, D, G. In Spanish, they finish with E, B, C, D, G. Alright? Now that's one pattern. B, C, D, B, C, D. Now F in Spanish is F, F, G, G, H, H. J is one of the letters which is a little bit different. It's J. Now I want to make sure that you understand that the letter H in Spanish, H, is mute. It's silent. So it has no sound. So if the beginning of the word has an H, you don't say ha, all right? You say ah, all right? So if it's HA, you don't say ha, you say ah. For example, the word to talk is hablar, all right? But you have heard probably people say hablo, all right? And they are usually saying that in movies, for example. And you hear people say, yo no hablo español. They want to say, I don't speak Spanish. But the mistake they make is they say hablo, hablo, because it starts with an H. So people logically think it's ha. But in Spanish, it's not. In Spanish, it's hablo, hablo. So the H is mute. It's hablo, and it's not hablo. It's not O, it's O. Hablo. All right? So you can say yo no hablo, and then español. Okay, so hablo is a verb, and it's with a small letter, with a not with a capital H. So yo no hablo español. I don't speak Spanish. All right, that's something you can say if somebody asks you things you don't understand. But if you want to say I speak Spanish, then you just take away the no, and you say yo hablo español. Yo hablo español. All right. Now you're a beginner, and yes, you can allow yourself to make mistakes, and that's great. And everybody will understand that. But you can also allow to own the words that you know, even though they're just a few. And for that, you want to sound as good as possible. All right? You want to sound as good as possible so people think you're better than what you are. Now, I'm going to tell you a little anecdote which happened to me when I was learning Russian. And basically, a lot of people use as an excuse being a beginner to not speak properly. I learned to say I don't speak Russian so well that when I said it back in Russia, some people got mad at me and said, of course, you understand everything I'm saying. And they got mad at me, and I said, I don't understand, but I said it so fluently and so properly that they thought I was lying to them and acting a fool. Well, the situation was a bit awkward, but guess what? It clicked on me, and I realized that this is fun. People think I'm better than I actually am just because I'm pronouncing better. So what happens is that in countries like Latin countries, Russian countries, people like to have fun. Or even in the English-speaking countries, people will say something like, go to that girl and tell her something bad. It means, what time is it? And you think you're going to ask her, what time is it? But you're telling her something bad, and people laugh at you, right? Now, when you speak better than you actually are, native speakers will not joke with you. They will not say, go tell her this, or go do that, go to the shop and say this stupid thing, because they think your level is higher, even though your level is very low, because you're pronouncing good and you are using proper grammar. And that's when grammar and pronunciation start becoming interesting for you to do properly, because many times people don't care. All right, so that was a long anecdote, and we're just talking about the letters. So, yo no hablo español. Yo no hablo español. Let's start with a sentence like this. Yo no hablo español. Okay, yo, that means I, as we see now. Yo, yo. So you heard yo, yo, yo. It's not yo, it's yo. No hablo español. Now you see what I'm doing here? Let me highlight. No and hablo. It's no hablo. No, it's not no hablo. It's no hablo. Now, how do you sound better and more fluent? If you connect the o a no hablo. All right. Why do I say this? Because many people, for example, Asians, they cut the words and they say no hablo español. You want to connect and say no hablo, no hablo, wa hablo, no hablo, and do like that until it becomes just like a string attached. And the same thing goes for español. Hablo español. So we have loe, lo español. All right, so what you want to do, you want to do a beautiful transition between O and E. Oe, 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 oe. Lo español, lo español, all right? Hablo español. And this is great, for example, if you're Chinese. So I've lived in China for many years, and I've had this issue with Chinese speakers where they say, hablo español, because every word is one syllable in Chinese. So it's important for you to connect. When you do that, your Spanish is going to drastically become much better. And you don't want to wait until you are fluent to do that, because it's going to get very heavy for you. So it's good that even if you just know 5 phrases or 5 words, embrace them, make them yours, mix them in your native tongue, all right? So let's say you just learned how to say hablo, which is I speak. Now let's do some Spanglish. And you want to say I don't speak Spanish, but mix it. Let's say I don't hablo Spanish. I don't hablo Spanish. Or let's ask our friends if they want to learn Spanish with me. Hey, do you want to learn Español with me? Now you're mixing. Do you want to learn Español with me? So it's becoming more fun. So now I gave you a homework, and it's actually not a homework. It's a street work. It's an everywhere work where you're going to start speaking Spanglish with the few words that you've learned. So every time you learn a new word, put that word in an English sentence that you make for yourself. So for example, the word español. All right, how did you say Spanish? Oh, español. How can I remember that? I don't have context. For you to remember a word, you have to put it in context, but you don't have enough Spanish knowledge to put that word in context. Now the context you can create now by yourself in English. Okay, so let's put español in different sentences. 1. Hey, do you want to learn español with me? Let's say in Spain they speak español. I don't hablo español. Alright, so now we made 3 sentences and so on. Now we want to do this with all sentences. Great. Okay, so we have ñ, ñ, ñ. Alright, ñe, 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 ñe. For example, the word niño. Niño means boy. Niña means girl. So now maybe if you're paying attention, you realize niño means boy, niña means girl. That means that almost every word, every noun that finishes with an a, niña, with an a, it's female. And when they finish with an o, it's 99% of the cases male. Alright, and that's gonna help you a lot, because we're gonna, when we add the boy or the girl, there's a the for boys and a the for girls. So you say niño. Let's say the boy, the niño. But let's use Spanish, the. Then you say el niño. The girl, the niña. Let's take away the because the is English. How do you say it in Spanish? El niña? No. El is niño, la niña. El niño, la niña. Alright, so I have it somewhere else, but we're gonna write it here for you anyways right now. Alright, now look at this. So we're gonna say el niño, which means the boy, and la niña, which means the girl. El niño, la niña. Alright, now let's change colors. And we write like this, la niña, because it finishes with an A. Alright, like this, la niña. Very good, la niña. Okay, el niño, la niña. Very good. Now let's look at the letter P. The letter P is P. P, P. Alright, so we have B, D, C, B, D, C, P, P. Understand? Alright, then we have Q. In Spanish is Q. And now we have 2 very, very important letters. So we have a video in the extra material called the R's. Alright, especially if you are an English native speaker, or a Japanese or Chinese native speaker, the R in Spanish is kind of difficult for you. So let me explain to you first. I have an explanation for you over there, but I'm going to do a short one here. Now, when we have one R, it's called ere. All right? But when the R is in the beginning of the word, it's r. All right? But when the R, the single R, is in the middle or at the end of the word, then you say r. So you see there's a difference between r and r. All right, so I say it again. R, single R in the beginning of the word. R, single R in the middle or end of the word. And then we have a double R. And double R is usually in the middle of the word and it's also R. So the sound R is double R in the middle or one R in the beginning. All right, we're going to go through it a little bit later. So now you just have a vague idea about what I just said. And then we have S. S in Spanish is, take a guess, ese. All right, and T is te. P, T, A, B, C, D, P, T, B, C, D, P, T. All right, so everything that in English, every letter that sounds like B, C, in Spanish is B, C. And then we have V. What do you think? V. Now the letter V in South America and in Spain is pronounced B by most of the people. All right, so it's almost official that the letter V is pronounced B. All right, even though there's people who do it the international way, V. All right, so that is why a lot of Spanish natives, when they speak English, they would say something like, oh, very good, this is very good, very good, very good, very good. That's wrong, of course. But the mistakes of a native in your language, they reveal how you should pronounce in Spanish. Okay, now I'm giving you another trick. All right, and this trick is that not only should you speak Spanglish, like, do you want to learn Espanol with me? But you also want to speak, making the theater, exaggerating. You want to speak English, Spanglish with Spanish accent. How is that? So when you're saying, do you want to learn Espanol with me? That's Spanglish. Now let's do it with Spanish accent. Do you wanna learn Espanol with me? All right, it becomes fun. It's not only fun or funny, maybe, but it facilitates your transition when you are moving from Spanish to English. What happens is that many times when people want to switch from English to Spanish, they start speaking Spanish with an American or English accent. So for example, a mí me gusta comer la comida. I like to eat food. So it should be, a mí me gusta comer la comida. But people say, foreigners would say, a mí me gusta comer la comida. Sounds like American English. Why? Because people feel they sound weird when they speak Spanish with a Spanish accent, because they think, that's not me. That's not me, I'm an American, I'm an English, it sounds so weird. So to make it less weird, start speaking English with a Spanish accent and you will look ridiculous for your friends. But from ridiculous in English with a Spanish accent, you will transition to smooth Spanish accent in Spanish. Okay, so I've given you a couple of great tips that you can do by yourselves at home or anywhere, and that's to speak Spanglish and speak Spanglish with a Spanish accent. Then when you transition to Spanish, you are going to sound very good, very good, like a native speaker. You are going to sound like a native speaker, right? Now, the same thing works the other way around. So when a Latin American or Spanish person starts speaking English, they speak like this, they speak with this Spanish accent, because they feel weird if they start speaking with an English accent. Even though in Spanish they can play the American accent, right? Just like you can play the Spanish accent, but you have to get used to playing and acting this accent so the transition becomes smooth. Okay? So next letter, we have the W. The W in Spanish is the same, but we call it in two different ways. We call it W and we call it double V. All right? So in South America we say double V, and in Spain we say W. So in Spain, W is W, 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 or W. And in Latin America we say W, W. So if you want to say www.thenewspanishacademy.com, in Spanish you would say www. Dot is point, punto, dot, www.thenewspanishacademy.com. Alright? Good. Now we have X. Now, by the way, the letter W is almost not used in Spanish, almost not. Maybe for international words. The same for the letter K is barely used. And then we have Y. Alright? So Y is more widely used. And then we have the Z, which is used. All right, we're going to go through that as well. Now let's look at the next slide, where we're going to go a little bit in depth on a couple of sounds and things you want to think about when you are learning Spanish. All right, you've gotten right now already a couple of tricks. These are amazing tricks, and I told you to write a list of vocabulary. One page can be, or one of the lists should be verbs, one of the lists should be nouns, adjectives, so separate them. And also on the other side of the book, make a list with a mix of everything we're learning as we go through the course. Okay, so as I said, the H is mute, it has no sound. So how do people say ha 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 when commenting on a chat or a movie or something that's funny? Well, people write, maybe you have seen it, J-A, J-A, because J in Spanish is ha ha ha. Alright, so you would say this in a chat room. Ha 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 ha. Alright, that means haha in Spanish. Alright, so this is good to know. Now, you do not want to be fluent in Spanish and make the mistake of pronouncing the H as ha. So for example, the word hour, which by coincidence in English has not a sound, is not hour, you say hour. In Spanish is hora, hora. Never ever say hora, hora. So if you say hora, you are pronouncing the H wrong, the O wrong because it should be O, and the R wrong. It's not ra, it's ra, ora, 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 ora. Alright, now I repeated ora 5 times. What you want to do is also this. Ora, 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 ora. Right? Ora, 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 ora. Ora means hour, okay? Like the hour of the day. Now I'm going to teach you another word, and that word is right now. Ahora. Ahora means now. Alright, right now. Ahora. Ahora. So again, you don't say ahora, you say ahora. 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 Right now. So how do you say right now? Great question. And I'm here to answer your request. So in Spanish, if you want to say right now, there's 2 ways of saying that, and I'm going to teach you. And that is ahora mismo. Ahora mismo means right now. And another way of saying that is ahorita. But that is more colloquial, right? And that's especially used in Latin America more. All right, so this ita is kind of a diminutive way of speaking, which makes things cuter or sweeter or smaller. All right, ita. So niña means girl. I told you niña. So if you want to make it cute or little girl, you say niñita. Okay, and I said boy is niño. If you want to say, oh, the little boy, look at the cute, you say niñito. All right, so car in Spanish is carro. So how do you say, oh, that little, this is my little car? Say carrito. All right, we're gonna go through that later, but now I just planted the seed so that you know that that thing exists and how to use that. Okay, so other languages have this. Russian has this. Of course, the Latin languages do that as well. Now let's look at the letter R, and this is very important. As I said before, there's a video in the extra materials where we go through more examples of the letter R, but now let's look at what I told you earlier. So, how do you say rat in Spanish? Rata. Now, as I said before, when the word finishes with an A, with an A, it's usually female, like 99.9% of the times. So, rata is female. So, how do we say the rat? So, we say la rata, the rat, all right? So, la is the, what we call in English, the, okay? And now, just to be redundant, this is what we're gonna do. I put the in pink, so you know that's feminine, all right? The rat, la rata, the rat, okay? And now we have perro, that is dog, perro, all right? So you see here, rata, perro. Now, how do we pronounce this properly? If you are an English speaker, it's maybe hard for you to say r. If you are a Chinese, it's even harder to say r, or Japanese. Now, really listen to what I'm saying right now. This is a trick that nobody knows in the world, only you, in about a second from now. Write it down. I'm going to tell it to you later, but write it down right now and start practicing. If you want to practice something, this is it. How do you say r? Now, the trick is to say the letter t. What happens when you say t? What happens is that your tongue is touching your upper teeth. T. And that is the same position where your tongue is when you are saying r. The difference is that when you say r, your tongue is rolling right there in the same place. So how do we combine this and mix it? We do like this. What's going to happen is that if you practice this 100 times, 1,000 times, you're going to eventually be able to say for a second. And then you practice again. You're going to practice real hard. All right? But what you want to do is be able to prolong it and drag it like. And when you do that, the next step is to start without saying the T. Start not saying t, but saying and become obsessed. Become obsessed about it until people say, hey, come on, stop it. You're being ridiculous. You're being a fool. And you just look at them with your Spanish eyes and say, I don't care about you because you don't speak español. All right? All right. I hope you got that. Now we go to the sound r. All right? Now the sound r is a single R, as you can see here, pero in the middle of the word, and cantar at the end of the word. Okay? Cantar, and then we have pero. All right. Now, you might make the mistake if you are an American or English, and you would say pero. Yes, pero. I mean pero. Do you mean dog? Do you mean perro? Or do you mean pero, which means but? No, I mean pero. Which pero? Hello, which pero? Okay? You have to be clear. Now, instead of making that mistake, use something you already have in your pocket. What do I mean? When you say that little car, the double T or the TL, little, that's actually the R, the sound we're looking for. So you didn't notice that you are making that sound because you are using it with the T. When you say little, but that little, that's the sound that we want when we have a single R in the middle of the word or a single R at the end of the word, cantare. Okay? So think about that, English natives. Now, if you are Japanese or Chinese, don't you ever make the mistake of pronouncing the R like an L. Don't say pelo, because if you say pelo, the word pelo with an L means hair, okay? Hair. So what happens is that I don't know what you're saying, all right? I don't know if what you want to say. You want to say butt, you want to say dog, or do you want to say hair? So what is my suggestion? It might be hard for you to say r or r, but I know that in Chinese and in Japanese, perhaps you can also say the English R. So you can say R, like san, R. This R is the English R, and it's better to pronounce the R wrong and pronounce it like an English speaker. It's better to do that than to pronounce it like an L, all right? So it's better to sound wrong but with an R than to sound wrong with an L, all right? So it's better to say perro, and I will be like, did you mean butt or did you mean dog? Did you mean perro or did you mean pero? It's better for me to be confused thinking that you said butt or dog than me thinking that you said pelo, which is hair. Understand? So if you're gonna make a mistake that's closer to Spanish. And you who are a native English speaker, you don't try not to use the English R. Of course, if it's impossible for you at first to say r or r, you can say it. People will understand you in context, but try to use what you already know, which is r, like little. All right? And practice the tr. Now, another trick is when you say like little, is instead of a D, instead of a T, tr, use a D. And then you can say and then you can say pero. Alright, so what does the word cantar mean? Cantar means to sing, alright? It's very important for you to notice the to sing, alright? To sing is what we call in grammar words, in grammar terms, infinitive. That means, in other words, that is what the verb is called when you are looking at it in the dictionary, all right? So when you want to look at a verb in the dictionary, you look to sing, to jump, to play, to ride. In Spanish, they usually finish with an R when they are in the dictionary, in other words, in the infinitive form, okay? Why do I say that? Because as opposed to English, when we have sing, in Spanish, the verb changes from cantar, which is in the dictionary, and then we have canto, cantas, canta, cantamos, cantáis, cantan. So it changes a lot. These changes are called conjugations, okay? And you don't have to worry about it right now. Just know that the verbs change a lot, right? Just know that. We're going to go through that, but I would just want to let you know that that's happening. Okay, so let's keep going. We have the letter G. Then in Spanish is he. So when we make the he and he sound, we can use the J, like ha ha ha, he, ho ho ho, hu. But with the J, we cannot say ha 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 with the J. We say ga, ge, gi. Ga, ge, gi. Sorry, ga, he, and then go, gu. Ga, he, go, gu. ga, he, hi, go, gu. So how do you say gegi? Well, to say gegi, you put a U in between the G and the E, in between the he and the E. So ga, he, hi, go, gu is G-A, G-E, G-E, G-O, G-U. Okay? G-A, G-E, G-I, G-O, G-U. Ga, he, hi, go, gu. Alright? He. Now we have double L, eye, eye. And we use it like ye. Alright? So for example, you probably heard the word bella or bella, 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 which means beautiful girl. People make the mistake sometimes to think that bella is Spanish for beautiful girl, but bella is in Italian. In Italian, double L sounds la. In Spanish, double L is ya. So you say bella, 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 muy bella, very beautiful, alright? Muy bella, okay? Perfect. Now, we have the letter ñ, as I told you before, ñ, niño, niño. And then r in the beginning of the word, and double R in the middle of the word, r. Alright, I explained that already. Now we have the C, the letter C. As you can see, I'm using a random order, alright, in importance. Now the letter C is like in English, ka, se, si, koku, ka, se, si, koku. How do you say ke, ki? Is it K? No, it's with the Q. Q-U-E. Q-U-E. Ke. Q-U-E. Ki. Alright? Now, in English we say ka, se, si, koku. But in Spanish it's ka, se, si, koku in South America. But in Spain you say ka, se, si. Alright? So when the se is followed by an e or an i, in Spanish from Spain you say se, si, like the th. So that's why you hear people from Spain lisp a lot, because the C is TH. But in Latin America, the C is just like an S. And also the Z or the Z. Okay? So the Z or the Z in Spain is like Zorro. In Spain is Zorro, Zorro. And in South America is like an S, Zorro. Alright? Perfect. Alright, now we have B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, W, X, Y, Z. Alright, now let's look at some other important things you have to be aware when we're talking in Spanish. And as I just said, the letter S is something you can play with, because as you've heard before, native Spanish speakers, when they speak English, they will say things like Spain, I come from Spain, Spain, and I speak Spanish, I speak Spanish. Why? Well, because in Spanish there are pretty much no words that start with an S and follow with another consonant. That means S-T, S-B, S-M, like small. A Spanish speaker will say, yeah, this is a very small, right? Because there's no words that start with an S followed by an M. So usually there is an E behind, like Spanish, small. Or sport, this is a very big sport in the world. Why you call it soccer? It is a football. It's the biggest sport in the world. Okay, because in Spanish we don't say sport, we don't say esport, we say deporte, deporte. Okay, now something that I went ahead, and this is maybe one of the two magical secrets of the Spanish pronunciation that are gonna make your native Spanish speaker friends scratch their heads. And they are gonna think, I don't know what you're doing, man. but there's something in your pronunciation that makes you sound native, and I love it. And that is the letter D. Okay? So yes, people will tell you, regular teachers will say, the Spanish alphabet is like the English alphabet. Go through it, it's very easy. It's the same. Let's keep learning fast in 1 week. Now, let me jump to another topic. So I like languages. I love languages, if you might know about it. I speak several languages. I've been lucky. So when you want to learn new languages, it's hard to find a good course, and I don't find that anywhere, and that's why I've created this course for you. But people ask me, how can I learn fast? What's the best trick? And that's when psychology becomes relevant and very important when you're learning a new language, and that is a counterintuitive answer that they don't expect. And that is that if you want to learn quickly, you should know that you will not learn quickly. Basically, you should have patience, because better think that I'll be fluent in half a year or 1 year or 2 years than to think I'll be fluent next week, and you will get frustrated and angry because they lied to you. You are not fluent in a week. You're gonna get mad, you're gonna get frustrated, and you're gonna live it. But if you think I'm gonna be fluent in 2 years, you might get fluent in a year or half a year, and if you go follow this course, even faster. But it's important to have patience, because it can be challenging to learn a new language and to remember new words. And sometimes you're gonna get mad with yourself because you don't remember a word, because it's hard to associate it with another word. And you're like, why am I not learning it? I should learn it. Somebody else is learning faster. Maybe somebody else already speaks Italian or French or Portuguese, which are closer to Spanish. So don't get frustrated. Don't be emotional, but be emotional. Be like a robot, but don't be like a robot. What do I mean? When you repeated a word 20 times and you didn't remember it, be like a robot and say, okay, 21st times, I'm gonna go 24th time. But when you remember it, be like, yes. Be emotional when you do well. Don't be emotional when you do bad, but be critical and tell yourself, all right, that's wrong, I'm gonna fix it. That's great, I'm gonna keep doing that. So you keep a balance, because you're gonna hit plateaus where you feel like you're not advancing, and you're like, man, I have not advanced anything. And then you have to tell yourself, well, I'm actually much better than when I started, and I'm much better than 2 weeks ago. All right, so there's a constant battle between what you've learned, how far you've advanced, and what you haven't learned, and the difficulties that you are going through at this point. Okay, so this is important. And now back to the magical trick of the Spanish pronunciation that will make your Spanish native friends go, I don't know what you're doing, but that's intriguing. I love it. How do you pronounce so good? I can put my finger on it. You're a genius. You have talent. You know, a lot of people tell me, you're talented when it comes to languages, you know, but they don't know how many hours I've spent learning songs, watching movies, reading books, going through the struggle. All right, and I'm with you in this struggle right now, so don't give up. Now back to the super trick that's gonna make your friends go, I don't know what you're doing, but I love it. And the trick is with the letter that you least suspect, the D. The letter D is the reason why your friends will not find the reason why your Spanish sounds so fluent, because they usually look at the hard letters. Usually people tell you, oh, the D is D. You say D and that's it. D, 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 D. All right, everybody can say D, but not this way. Now, the word dedo, you see that one D is highlighted, it's thick, because the D in the middle of the word, you want to pronounce it a little bit different. It's not a must. Not everybody does it, but when you are fluent, you will not notice those who do it. And you will feel that they're fluent. Now, the first D, dedo, dedo. Do you see any difference? Dedo. Dedo means finger, alright? Dedo. Can you say dedo? Yes. But the second D, let's analyze the first D, de. What happens when you say D, de, your tongue touches your lower part of your upper lip, of your upper tooth. The teeth. Dedo. Now, the second D, try not to touch your teeth with your tongue. So say de, do, 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 do. So have the D flying between your teeth. Have the tongue flying, not touching your teeth. Dedo, dedo, de, do, de, do, 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 do. The tongue is not touching your teeth. All right, and you try to do that with all the words that have a D in the middle. All right, dedo, donde, donde. So that's gonna make you sound like a native. All right. Dedo, that means finger, and if you say dado, that means dice, right? Rolling dice. Dado, dado, dedo, dado, dedo, dado. All right, that's a trick. Sounds like insignificant, but that little insignificant thing is gonna be significant when people will not know what you are doing right, because it's so insignificant that they cannot put their finger on it, but it's gonna make a huge difference. Okay, and the same thing goes for the letter B. All right, when you say B in Spanish, you can say B, or you can say da. It's not gonna be wrong, but that's just a trick that's gonna make you sound amazing. Now the B, you see b. What happens is your teeth touch each other. So when the B is in the middle, bebé, bebé, like baby, bebé, you want to say something like bebé, 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 all right? The second B, don't touch your lips. Be, the first one. The second one is almost like blowing. Bebé, 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 all right? Bebé, 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 bebé. Bebé means baby. And if you want to say the word for to drink, there's a couple of them, but one of them is beber, 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 with the R at the end. All right, beber, beber. That means to drink. Beber, beber. So dedo, dado, bebe, beber, bebe, beber. Okay. Now let's practice this. SOS, that means that is. SOS, SOS, that is. SOS un carro, that is a car. SOS un carro, that is a car. Now, the letter Q. You might have heard of something called keto diet. Now, keto is written with a K. But if you say keto in Spanish, people will assume that is the Ecuadorian capital, Quito. And a lot of English natives make the mistake of saying cubito, cubito. But the thing is that in Spanish, when you want to say ki, K or ki, then you write Q, Q-U-E, and Q-U-E. Q-U-E, Q-U-E. Ki, ke, ki, alright? So let's see. Ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. C-A, Q-U-E, Q-U-I, go, ku. And then se, si. What do we have here? Ka, se, si, go, ku. Ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. So Quito is the capital of Ecuador. And then we have ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. This is wrong, alright? So you don't say like this in Spanish. You say que, ki, Q-U-E, Q-U-E. And the same thing goes with the G, alright? You say ga, he, hi, go, gu. Ga, he, hi, go, gu. And then we have, if you want to say ge, gi, then you write ge, u, e, ge. And ge, u, i, gi. Ge, u, e, ge. Ge, u, i, gi. Like for example, the word for guitar is guitarra. You don't say guitarra, you say guitarra. Or the word for war, which is guerra. Now you might ask yourself, what if I want to say gui? What do I do? Because G-U-I is gi. So how do I say gui? Then look at this word penguin. In Spanish, penguin is pinguino. And to say penguin, what you do is you add 2 dots on the U. 2 dots on the U. And it becomes guino, pinguino, pinguino. Now, this is called the umlaut, or in Spanish, the U diéresis. But it's almost not used at all in Spanish. Alright, just 1 or 2 words. But the example is pinguino. Alright? Now, what we'll do is, before we finish this video, we're gonna go through all of these words here, which is 1 word per each letter of the alphabet, and we're gonna go it quickly. And what you want to do is look at the English translation to the right, and I'm just gonna say the Spanish word, and we're gonna go through the list. After I've said that list, I'm gonna go through the list again, but we're gonna spell letter by letter, so you practice the spelling in Spanish so you get used to it. Alright? What you can do is also come back to the spelling part and just listen to me, stop, and try to write it. Listen, stop, and try to write it correctly. See if you can do that. You don't have to do it, but if you want to improve your Spanish quicker, you want to try doing it, okay? So let's go. Amigo, that means friend. Bueno, that means good. Con, dedo. Enseñar, fiesta. Ganar, hierro. Intentar, jamón. Karma, libertad. Lluvia, masa. Nada. Niño, onda. Pie. Pie means foot. And you might wonder, do you say la pie or el pie? It's masculine and you say el pie. The foot, el pie. Que. So again, que. Q-U-E. Que. It's not que. Relajo. Relajo. Sin. Tiempo. Without time. Sin tiempo. Sin tiempo. Without time. Usar, to use. Ver, to see. Show. Now the word show means show, but it's not to show something, but a show, like an entertainment show, alright? And it's, as you can see, an international word. Then we have texto. Text, texto. As you can see, many words are similar. Spanish and English words are similar. And then we have ley, law, and zorro. Okay, now if you're paying attention to what you are seeing in front of you, then you will notice that we have R, that's bold, that's fat. See here, enseñar, ganar, intentar, usar. Alright, why is that? I already told you that before, and that is because the words, the verbs that finish with an R, they are infinitive. Usar, cantar, intentar, ganar, enseñar, alright? Those are to teach, to try, to use, to see. Alright, now we're going to go through the words and I'm going to spell them letter by letter. Let's go. Amigo. A-M-I-G-O. Bueno. B-U-E-N-O. Con. C-O-N. F-I-E-N-S-E-N-A-R, fiesta. F-I-E-S-T-A, ganar. G-A-N-A-R, hierro. H-I-E-R-R-O, intentar. I-N-T-E-N-T-A-R, jamón. J-A-M-O-N, karma. K-A-R-M-A. Now, karma starts with a K, and there are few words in Spanish that start with a K, and in this case, as you can see, it's an international word. All right? Libertad, L-I-B-E-R-T-A-D, lluvia, L-U-V-I-A. You can also say W-L-U-V-I-A. Masa, M-A-S-A. Nada, N-A-D-A. Niño, N-I-Ñ-O. Onda, O-N-D-A. Pie, P-I-E. Que, Q-U-E. Relajo, R-E-L-A-J-O. Sin, S-I-N. Tiempo, T-I-E-M-P-O. Usar, U-S-A-R. Ver, V-E-R. Show, S-O-S-H-O-W. Texto, T-E-X-T-O. Ley, L-E-Y or L-E-I. Sorry, L-E-Y. And then we have zorro, Z-O-R-R-O. Now remember that the Z or the Z in Spain is pronounced th, so a Spanish person will say zorro, Z-O-R-R-O. Alright, now you can practice dictation, practice reading now by yourself. Another last trick, magical trick. I hope you wrote down all the tricks, because there's a book I'm writing, or maybe it's already out, depending on when you're looking at this video, with many tricks that I use when learning a language. Alright, and that is that every time I say a Spanish word, instead of you looking at your phone, you want to mimic my lips and move your lips and your tongue according to what I'm saying. If I say zorro, say zorro, Z-O-R-R-O, right? Try to play along, because it's just an act. We're acting all the time, and when I speak English, I'm acting, but my English is fluent, and your Spanish can be fluent just like that, okay? And just like that, we have finished the first module of the new Spanish Academy. And with that, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for finishing the longest explanation of the alphabet in the history of the world. But not only that, I've given you tips and words and tricks that you can take throughout the course in any new language that you are going to learn. Alright, so thanks a lot. You've done an amazing job, and see you on our next video. It went slowly, I know, but you've learned a lot of things. Realize that. Another trick, be aware and acknowledge the things you've learned, because sometimes it feels like I just learned the alphabet. No, you learn many tricks, many new words, and open your mind. It's going to help you a lot, and we're going to learn more and more and more words. And sometimes, one more thing, it feels like I'm going slowly, but it will come times where it feels that I'm going very fast. Don't worry about it. If you think I'm going slowly, I'm giving you a lot of information for you, and if you think I'm going fast, I'm going to repeat it again in another module, in another chapter, so don't worry about it. Because when you are learning a new language, you want to hear people speak fast, and you're going to hear people speak slowly. So if you want to be frustrated when you travel to South America, and you're like, oh man, I'm frustrated, I don't know how to react in the situation, it's better to be frustrated during your training as we learn the language, so that when you go to South America, you are not frustrated, you know how to handle the situation. So again, over an hour, Thanks a lot for staying through this video, and see you in module 2 of the beginners level 1 in the new Spanish Academy. See you next time. Nos vemos. We see each other. Nos vemos.